Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on in to Fantasy Daily. It is November 3rd. I've been gone too long. I've been away too long. I know everybody. Trust me, I really want to be here. I wish I could do this 24/7. And just this. Unfortunately, you got to do life stuff. You got to work and you got to pay bills. And that's all dumb stuff. Got to do it though. Everybody, welcome on in to Fantasy Daily. I'm so excited to be here back again. Unfortunately, my laptop won't load for my display screen, so I have a separate laptop just for this computer. That thing will not turn on. It will not turn on, and I don't have all day to sit there and mess with that. Got to make sure that I jump on, get in when I can, especially on a day like today. It is Wednesday. I know I missed waiver shows. I felt so bad that I couldn't jump on and be able to jump in and get you the waivers. But I am going to cover some of my implications off of it, so hopefully I can give you some, relief. Or, maybe you grabbed a running back that you weren't too sure of, and I might be high on him. So let's talk about some guys going forward. I got some news. I got some, the waiver section that we'll just review for a second. Couple players to drop about, couple player drop candidates to talk about. But first and foremost, this is going to be the start of the Where Are We series. So the Where Are We series is going to run today all the way through Friday into Saturday probably. And I'd like to do half of AFC today, half of AFC tomorrow, half of NFC Friday, half of NFC Saturday. So let's hope I get all those shows in there. If not, I'll condense them into one and make a longer show. But what we're going to be doing on the Where Are We series is I'm really just going to go through teams and tell you exactly player by player where I am on them through on the season. And, going forward, because we are over the halfway mark. Now that we're into week 9, we are over the halfway mark as far as fantasy football goes and as far as your season goes, depending on your format. Now, most of you guys know this season we're going a little bit deeper. We're into week 15, 16, and 17 for championships. So when it comes to the real, okay, it's time for us to look at the season and look at, what we have for sample size and where we're going. Because we have enough sample size to say this is what teams look like, but you also are over the hump now where you can say this is what they could be for later on in the year. So we're going to talk about that as we go. Let's get right into it. Let's talk about the news. The big piece of news that I haven't been able to talk about with you guys just yet is that Derrick Henry is done for the fantasy season just about. Now, it's likely that he's done for the season. So I know right now a lot of the questions are, can we drop Derrick Henry? Now, if you're playoff bound, you don't drop Derrick Henry. You do not drop Derrick Henry. You keep him, you hang on to him, you hope that you get him in week 17 or whatever. He's still Derrick Henry, you want to play him. Now, if you're in a situation where you're in dire straits, you have so many people on IR because there's a lot of people on IR, and you have to make a move, and you can't put Derrick Henry on IR, I do understand dropping him, because if he goes onto somebody else's team, he roster blocks them. I get it. It sucks. You don't want to let up Derrick Henry for the potential of him coming back, maybe even week 16, maybe even weeks for those 2 weeks. So if you give Derrick Henry to somebody in the championship, ouch, ouch, ouch. But you got to worry about your team. So if you are in a spot where you have a lot of people on IR, a lot of players on IR, you got Chris Carson, you got Derrick Henry, you had Michael Thomas and Calvin Ridley, you got all these players, I get it. I definitely get it, and I wouldn't hate dropping Derrick Henry in that circumstance. So as much as I am hesitant, depending on where I am, if you have no choice, if you're roster blocked, I do think you have to drop Derrick Henry. So it sucks, it's sad, but you got to make it to the championship to be able to use him in the championship. So if you got to, pull that Band-Aid, I suggest doing it. So it sucks, but it is what it is. Calvin Ridley, he is out indefinitely as well. So he is stepping away to worry about his mental health. Good for you, Calvin Ridley. Sometimes things are bigger than football, and this is one of them. So fortunately, Calvin Ridley will be okay. Hopefully he'll be back soon. If you have Calvin Ridley, hopefully you have the IR spot free. You can put him in there. You're not dropping Calvin Ridley. If somebody is willing to trade you to get Calvin Ridley and they're not even paying full price, I might make that trade, but it really depends on where I am. If I can afford to lose Calvin Ridley for basically nothing, then I will. If I can try to trade Calvin Ridley off my team to get me something to save my team, I'll likely do that as well. Chris Carson could miss the remainder of the season, and this is really what Chris Carson is. So if you can trade Chris Carson for just about anything, I might do it right now, because this really looks like he's going to miss the rest of the season. Which, another thing, if Alex Collins is out there, if you could trade, well, he's not out there, but if you could trade for Alex Collins cheap, I don't hate that, because he's still going to be a starter in games that you need, and when Russell Wilson comes back, they should be much better. So I don't hate going out to trade for Alex Collins, and I think that Chris Carson is somebody that you might be able to let go of. If you have Calvin Ridley and Chris Carson, I'll drop Chris Carson to move Calvin Ridley into my IR spot and hang on to it. Because, not looking good for Chris Carson. Von Miller has been traded to the Rams. So very boring trade day, as we expected. I got a lot of those things yesterday where I'm looking around and people are like, oh, the trade deadline was so boring. It always is. We say that every single year. So I said it, a couple weeks ago, don't get hyped up on anything. Probably nothing's going to happen. And sure enough, nothing really happened. Von Miller to the Rams. Now the Rams front line is Von Miller and Aaron Donald, which is just not fair. Just not fair. Michael Thomas, he's done for the season. So the news just came out about half an hour before I jumped on here. Michael Thomas is going to be done for the season. He posted it on Twitter himself. So Michael Thomas shuts himself down. Really not many implications out of this than what we've already seen. So if you're the Michael Thomas manager, then that's it. You can let him go. Sterling Shepard, he is to miss time with quad injury. The injuries are piling up for the New York Giants, but more specifically, they're piling up for Sterling Shepard. So Sterling Shepard, my golden boy, one of the guys that I was talking about quite a bit, saying you got to go get him. I love this player. He's going to miss quite a bit of time. So with him missing that much time, it's difficult for me to want to hang on to him. I do think that you need to go get Kadarius Toney with him missing that much time. I do think that you go get Darius Slayton with Shepard missing that much time. But I think Sterling Shepard for sure can be dropped. And I think I need to circle back to that as one of the people who was constantly saying, got to get Sterling Shepard, got to go out and trade for Sterling Shepard. So I have to take my loss here and say, okay, now we got to pivot away. We have to adapt or die. You can drop Sterling Shepard for Kadarius Toney or Rashad Bateman. And I'm okay with that. Henry Ruggs, terrible, awful story. Just so many things that I don't want to get into. Just awful story. All we're going to say is that Henry Ruggs was released from the team. He is no longer playing football. He's probably not going to be playing football ever again. He's probably not going to see daylight ever again. Whatever it may be. I shouldn't have said that. Don't want to get into it. But Henry Ruggs is going to get he was released. Bryan Edwards. You got to go look at Bryan Edwards and Hunter Renfrow. If he is not rostered in your leagues, you have got to go get Hunter Renfrow. So, Bryan Edwards, Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, obviously their stock goes up. Darren Waller's stock has always been up, but Hunter Renfrow and Bryan Edwards, we absolutely have to take a look at. So, there's the quick news as I'm rolling through. Waiver ads, obviously waivers have already ran. Hopefully you guys checked out to see who the players who were dropped. Keep an eye on those. But waivers have already run. So the waiver ads that I would have added this week, so let's pretend that it's yesterday and I'm talking to you about who I would have grabbed and who I would have ranked higher. And this is my doc from yesterday, so I didn't edit this to favor anything that's happening in the NFL. This is from yesterday. I haven't touched it since I got news updates this morning. I literally just got home a little while ago, put on some stuff, tried to fix this computer, and then loaded up my doc. So I haven't touched any of this. It's still exactly the way I left it, but let's talk about some names. Quarterbacks for waiver ads, there's not many besides Taysom Hill. I really do think that Taysom Hill is a guy that you really need to go add. Because when he played last year, he was one of the better quarterbacks. I think he finished top 18 in I think top 18 was the lowest he finished. And besides that, it was like in the 8 to 14 range. So Taysom Hill, very, very good. Taysom Hill is very, very good. And I think he's a great fantasy quarterback. And when I say very, very good, I mean for fantasy. So Taysom Hill, I like him for fantasy. I like him a lot. I think he's a good start this week. So if you have quarterback troubles, if you're really worried about quarterback, I think Taysom Hill is a good start this week. So hopefully he could be a still free agent on your waiver wire that you can go and grab for free this morning. Running back. So the big thing here, obviously, is that Derrick Henry is probably done for the fantasy season. So now it's a matter of, who's going to play what. Adrian Peterson signs to the Tennessee Titans, so the Tennessee Titans go out and get AP. Now he's going to be there behind Jeremy McNichols. Now, don't get me wrong. I do think that Jeremy McNichols is going to be the beneficiary of Derrick Henry being out. Adrian Peterson's going to get work, but I don't think it's a situation like we saw in Washington or Detroit. I don't remember which one it was. I think it was Washington, where Adrian Peterson showed up and he got quite a bit of work and he was fantasy relevant quite a lot. I don't think that's going to be the case for him in Tennessee, because I do think that Jeremy McNichols has a chance to be the starter and get the majority of work, with Adrian Peterson being a great third down back for them. So I think that Jeremy McNichols is the ad here. I think Adrian Peterson is also worth an ad as well. I would not spend a waiver on Adrian Peterson unless you're in a deep league. I'd rather wait for him to clear, and even if he doesn't clear and somebody else scoops him up, whatever, they can have him. If you paid a waiver for him, don't feel bad. That's okay, whatever. Hopefully you didn't spend a high one on him, but he was a free agent pickup for me. I do think that Jeremy McNichols is going to get quite a bit of work. So Jeremy McNichols, I like him a lot. My number one waiver ad this week, surprisingly, was not Jeremy McNichols or anything from Tennessee. It was Michael Carter. I love Michael Carter going forward, and if you follow the show, I've been talking about Michael Carter quite a bit. I remember I went to the Jets game with my friend John, who's in our league. We went to the game, and the whole time I'm talking about Michael Carter and how much I love him. And then today, on the waiver wire, John gets Michael Carter one spot ahead of me on the waiver wire. You're like, oh, damn. So Jeremy McNichols obviously got picked up, but he gets Michael Carter. So, good for you, John. Great. You're going to need it for that running back slot that you need to fill this week. And if you guys need running backs that you need to fill, I think Michael Carter is a starter for the rest of the year for you. Now, obviously, he's not going to return, Derrick Henry value, but he's going to have weeks where he goes off for these, could go off for these 30-point weeks. But I think he offers you a solid 10, 12-point baseline now, with kind of pushing the, former Ty Johnson, spell back out of the way. Now it's just kind of Michael Carter. He's running just him. With Mike White taking over this week, he used Michael Carter a ton in the dump-offs. So if he gets the start and he keeps doing that, which he likely could, Michael Carter is going to be a great start for fantasy, especially going forward. And if those targets keep coming, he's going to be unstoppable like Cordarrelle Patterson for the remainder of the season, kind of like DeAndre Swift as well, where he's just getting used everywhere. So really like Michael Carter. He was definitely my waiver number one ad this week. I would have blown a waiver priority one on Michael Carter because it's getting to the end of the season, whereas at the end of the season, you're really only grabbing those backup running backs. So Michael Carter, he's not a backup running back. He's a starter on what was a bad team. He's getting those targets, though. He's getting those catches. So I really like Michael Carter. He would have been my waiver ad number one this week for sure. My other running back waiver ad is Boston Scott. And I know it was a 2-touchdown day from inside like goal lines. But I do think that Boston Scott is going to see a lot of work while Miles Sanders is out. And you could actually see him take over most of the work with Kenneth Gainwell getting pushed back. Because even in a game where Miles Sanders wasn't there, to see Kenneth Gainwell get pushed back like that and Boston Scott have that success, that's kind of worrying for the Kenneth Gainwell stock. So I do think you can drop Kenneth Gainwell. He's in my drop section. And I would definitely drop Kenneth Gainwell to pick up Boston Scott. I don't think that's chasing points. I think it's obvious that Boston Scott has more of an appeal, kind of like James Conner does with Miles Sanders out. So I do like Boston Scott. I think he's the ad there, and you can drop Gainwell for that. Wide receivers, we're going to go Rashad Bateman because he is still unrostered in a ton of leagues. So if you need wide receiver, grab the wide receiver 2 on Baltimore, and as we saw it, a lot of people were worried about Marquise Brown and Rashad Bateman taking over for Marquise Brown, and I said it back then. They can sustain both of them. And then in this game where they really needed something to happen, Marquise got like 11 targets, and Rashad Bateman, well, last game they had a bye week, but Rashad Bateman had 6. So you saw that Marquise Brown was still getting his work with Rashad Bateman getting his work. So I think both of them are great ads. Keep Marquise Brown on wide receiver 1/2 level. He's great. And Rashad Bateman, I think, is that wide receiver 3 that you can, every now and then give you wide receiver 2 value. So I think Rashad Bateman's a great ad as well. My other wide receiver ad, my offseason honey, Russell Gage, everybody. Calvin Ridley is out indefinitely, so this is probably me grabbing at straws going, please, Gage, it's your time. But I think this is just rule of necessity. You can't throw it to Kyle Pitts and Cordarrelle Patterson all game. I mean, he's had a habit of doing that, but I do still think that Russell Gage should be added if you are, really, really, really needy at wide receiver. You can go out and grab him for sure. Now, I had another wide receiver that's escaping me right now. Who was the other wide receiver that I suggested getting? Oh, those are the ones we talked about before, Hunter Renfrow and Bryan Edwards. So those are two other ones. I definitely would have wavered Hunter Renfrow if I had to, but with Henry Ruggs gone, Hunter Renfrow and Bryan Edwards, I do feel like are good players that you can pick up. Players to drop. Now, Sterling Shepard, I had already mentioned that you could drop Sterling Shepard. I don't want to chase him around. I'm kind of taking my L on that. And if I can drop him to get Kadarius Toney, Rashad Bateman, Hunter Renfrow, I would. Because when Sterling Shepard comes back and they say he's healthy, I want to put him back on my team, definitely. But at the same exact time, it's time to make some moves. Go ahead and drop him. Allen Robinson, I'm throwing this one in here because he needs to be dropped. He needs to be dropped. Allen Robinson is taking too much room up in your team. You don't have time to wait around for it. We did see some signs of life with Justin Fields this week, but that was when Matt Nagy had COVID. So Matt Nagy was gone. For some reason, Justin Fields looked better, and now I'm still completely out on that offense as far as, and if it's not the starting running back, I really don't want any part of it. David Johnson, I'm not chasing this around. This is another one where you should be getting the work. He's not getting the work. I want no part in that now. With Mark Ingram gone, you had, let me see, I totally forgot what we were looking at with that one, but I was severely disappointed in the production of David Johnson after this game. Where is it? Yeah, here we go. 2 carries on 18% of the snaps. It went to Phillip Lindsay. I'm not chasing. So as much as I was in on David Johnson going into the week, like, okay, it looks like it's going to be, it was Rex Burkhead. I'm sorry. He had 4 carries. He had the touchdown. But I'm not chasing. I don't want to chase, and this is a big part of doing, your due diligence on watching the snap shares and stuff like that. David Johnson had the snap shares where Mark Ingram was in there. As soon as he leaves, it's opposite, and Rex Burkhead gets the goal line work. So it's a crapshoot there. I really don't want to get into it. So moving on to that, we already talked about dropping Calvin Ridley and Derrick Henry, all the guys, stuff like that, all the players like that. So I only got, about 13 minutes here left before I hit the half an hour mark. Let's get right into this. I'm going to go straight down the line, and we're going to talk about teams. We're going to talk about players. I'm going to kind of put this together a little bit sloppy. Let me see here. Go here. Go here. All right, so boom, 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 boom. Yes. All right, let's see. I just yeeted my pencil over there. So, let's get right into the AFC teams that I am definitely most familiar with, and that would be the Patriots division. Let's talk about the Jets. Now, you're looking at Mike White, and we're looking at, okay, maybe this is it's not a Tom Brady situation. Drew Bledsoe didn't just get hit, and now we got Tom Brady coming in here to be the new franchise quarterback. And watch, he'll be the franchise now. Mike White's been in the league for like 5 years. He's been around for a little while. He's had his chance, and he had a good game. Now, while I like Mike White in this game, I do feel like later on in the year, you're still going to see Zach Wilson. They spent a first-round pick on him. It's going to be difficult for me to think that Zach Wilson doesn't get into him. So, with that being said, I still think that Corey Davis in the long term, let me see here, actually. I don't think that he was, it's another did not practice yesterday, but did have to send it out. Yeah, so he could miss this game again, but I don't hate Corey Davis long run. And I know a lot of us have been falling on Corey Davis's kind of value. I don't hate Corey Davis in the long run. And if I could keep Corey Davis or trade for him in a package really cheap, I'd like to. Because I do think that when Zach Wilson comes back, their schedule at the end of the year isn't terrible. 15, 16, and 17, they play Miami, Jacksonville, Tampa Bay. So they're playing Tampa Bay in the championship. And I do like Corey Davis's ability to get, 10 targets a game from Zach Wilson, come down with 6 of them, something like that, like the ability, the rule of necessity there. So I don't hate Corey Davis. As far as Jamison Crowder goes and Elijah Moore goes, those are really toss-up players to me, like in Arizona, where any week they could flip out. And Elijah Moore has a little bit more of consistency than Jamison Crowder, but at the same time, they're still kind of mid-tier players that I'm really kind of streaming. Now, when it comes to, somebody like Elijah Moore, I'm willing to put him on my team in any given week that, and it doesn't, their quarterback, don't matter what quarterback it's in. I'm hoping for 6 targets and maybe a touchdown like that. So Elijah Moore, I think, has a little bit more consistency than Jamison Crowder, but at the same exact time, I'm not really rostering any of these guys unless I'm really, really struggling at wide receiver. For running back, you heard me talk about it, Michael Carter. I think Michael Carter is a year-end guy that I'm really, I'm high on him. I like Michael Carter a lot. I think that you can put Michael Carter in your lineup every single week, and he's going to, the weeks that he disappoints you, it's going to be 10, 12 points, which isn't terrible for a running back, you know what I mean? DeAndre Swift put up a dud game for me this week, and I'm like, whatever. Okay, don't care. You know what I mean? I just don't care. So Michael Carter kind of fits into that bill that he could have those weeks, and even if he has down weeks, I'm really not, I don't hate it. It is what it is. New England, moving on. New England's a pretty easy one to cover. I do like Hunter Henry as a streamer tight end, so we've talked about streamer tight ends a lot this year, and unless you have like the top 5 tight ends, I tell you all the time, try to grab somebody early. Dalton Schultz and Dawson Knox was our early guys this year where we said, hey, these are going to be the tight ends this year that you want. Grab them early if you can, and then you'll be able to hang on to them. I still feel that way about Dalton Schultz. He is more than just a tight end. He's a locker room guy that they really, really love. He's doing post-game speeches for them. Like, he's a guy that the team and the offense really rallies around. So him, Zeke, Dak, it's a fusion there of teamwork, a fusion of teamwork. That's how you win. So when you have that kind of morale within the locker room, you're going to see Dalton Schultz get more involved and stay involved. So he'll have his down games. Every tight end does. Travis Kelce has his down games. It is what it is. You stay the course. With that, I keep Hunter Henry in that streamer category where every now and then you're grabbing him. Before I forget, though, while we're on the topic, Dawson Knox is available in a lot of leagues because he was on IR. So is Logan Thomas. Give a look out for both of those if you need tight end. Going back to New England, I like Hunter Henry as a streamer. You can keep streaming him. Jacoby Myers, another one. I'm still going to stay, mid-tier on him. He fits that Corey Davis, Brandon Cooks range where I don't, I'm not over the moon about having this player, but at the same exact time, he's a great flex play. He's a great wide receiver 3 if you need him. And if you can get a package trade where he's in that trade and you're sending away something that you're willing to trade and you get, a running back and Jacoby Myers, it's a good trade. I would take that. So look at those guys as lower end guys that you could fit in your league, into your lineup, and they might return value a lot more later on, and they return consistency, which is what you want. You want consistency on your team as well. Damian Harris, that's the name that I don't want to run by because I do think that Damian Harris is one of the players that we're going to stay high on, but I really don't trust New England. I like Damian Harris. If you have Damian Harris, I would hang on to him. I would keep starting him in games. But I won't be surprised the games where he breaks your heart because Brandon Bolden or J.J. Taylor or Ramondre Stevenson or whatever it may be. So I'm a Patriots fan. I follow a lot of the Patriots pretty closely. J.J. Taylor and Ramondre Stevenson are having a battle in camp right now and in practice to basically see who's the running back 3. So they got a lot of good running back talent on that team. So when you have that much talent, yeah, Damian Harris is probably going to be the number 1. But it's still the Patriots, and I'm not surprised if games will really move away from him. So if I have Damian Harris, I'm stoked about it. I'm hanging on to him. But if somebody comes knocking and they're willing to make an offer where they're trading like Damian Harris is an every week running back 2 or running back 1, yeah, I'm going to move him away. So if I can trade Damian Harris away to get a good profit in return, I will absolutely do that. Yeah, so Mac Jones we talked about. Damian Harris we talked about. Yeah, I don't want Mac Jones on my team. I'm all set with Mac Jones. Miami. So the Miami rumors, I really thought that Deshaun Watson was gone. That seemed like a slam dunk deal to the point where they were going to do whatever they could to make sure that Deshaun Watson was on the Dolphins come Wednesday morning. So he's not he didn't get traded, and I don't know what's going to happen to Houston, but we're talking about Miami, so we'll get to Houston in a little while. And I don't know what's going to happen to Deshaun Watson. I don't know how you're going to fight your way out of that paper bag. That's anyway, so moving on to Miami, Tua is the starter, which is good news. I like that. So Tua remains a starter depending on the weeks that go through. Myles Gaskin, I think, is one of those guys that's going to still break your heart on certain weeks. So Myles Gaskin, I would hang on to him, but proceed with caution. If you need a wide receiver, if Michael Carter's out there and you can drop Myles Gaskin for Michael Carter, I'll do that. So be cautious on what you do. But I also think that you could do much worse than Myles Gaskin. So I don't hate it, but at the same time, I'd probably be looking to trade right now. Jalen Waddle and Devontae Parker. I really, really like Jalen Waddle as he progresses. Rookies have really good rapport on the second half of the season. So I really, really like Jalen Waddle going forward. I want to see him, do better, and hopefully he does. So if you have Jalen Waddle, stay the course. You're probably not going to be able to sell him for his, value that he could become. So be cautious on that one. Devontae Parker, he's coming back, and I do think he's going to take a little bit of Jalen Waddle work away. But at the same time, I'm not really that high on Devontae Parker. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some weeks that Devontae Parker takes backseats to other wide receivers or Mike Gesicki. So I'm just really, Jalen Waddle's the guy that I want over there, and I think Devontae Parker, I'll roster him in deep leagues, but I'm not setting my sights high like, oh, great, now I have a wide receiver too on my team. I don't think that. I think Devontae Parker's still going to be that wide receiver 3/flex spot. Moving on to tight end, Mike G. Mike G's been balling out, so if you have Mike G, you're happy about it. So there's really not much to say there. If you can somehow go out and get Mike G, if you got Travis Kelce and you can get Mike G and a running back 1, wide receiver 1, whatever to fix your team and you're hurting, I would do that. Try to go get one of those high-end tight ends, and trade Travis Kelce for something crazy, because Travis Kelce, he's gonna be the tight end 1 or 2 on the end of the season, but he's still gonna have these down games. So he's just as susceptible as any tight end, as when it comes to, having these down games. So why not trade him in for a really, really good running back, a really good wide receiver, and then one of these middle tight ends that's probably gonna finish like 40 points behind Kelce on the season. So is what it is. Take a look at it. There's not many tight ends out there that I think could finish above Travis Kelce. Right now, I think it could be Mark Andrews. It really depends. I don't think it's going to be Hawkinson. I've had a couple people say that, is Hawkinson a candidate to finish above Kelce? I just don't think so, because I don't think I trust Jared Goff enough. So I really feel like those are the games where we look at it and go, oh, great, but it's Jared Goff, so I don't trust that. So that's why I kind of lean more Mark Andrews. But yeah, if you could trade Travis Kelce in for a running back, like I tried to trade Travis Kelce for T.J. Hawkinson and A.J. Brown, didn't work. But I would do something like that if you could. Moving on. So who did we cover? Miami, the Jets, New England, Buffalo. Moving on to Buffalo. Y'all know me. If you guys have followed the show for a while, you guys know I love Buffalo. I'm a Buffalo stan. I absolutely love Josh Allen. Josh Allen is going to be my quarterback 1 for the rest of the season, no matter what. I love Kyler Murray. I love a lot of Tom Brady, everything, but Josh Allen is just out of his mind. I know he had a bad game last week, so people are probably looking at it going, oh, well, in that game, he blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I get it, but he also finished as the quarterback 1 in that game. So, yep. So, after all that, a bad game, they go into the locker room tied at halftime at 3-3, and Josh Allen still finishes quarterback 1. So I really like him. Stephon Diggs, keep him rolling. Emmanuel Sanders, I know Emmanuel Sanders broke your heart in this game. He still had the 5 targets. It was an off game for him. Keep him rolling. I'm still going to hang on to him. I'm still going to keep him on my bench. I'm still going to use him in games where I need him. He's great. He's a great flex play. Obviously, he's not that great if he's putting up bubbles, but he's a good play. Hang on to him. Dawson Knox, we already talked about him. If you can get Dawson Knox off the waiver wire for free or something like that, please go do that. Cole Beasley, he's still going to be a flex play for me. I'd rather have Emmanuel Sanders over Cole Beasley, and I'll die on that mountain alone. I do not care. Zach Moss. I also think Zach Moss is a great start this week, so if you need to start Zach Moss and he's out there. Zach Moss definitely needs to be on your rosters if you guys have that. So make sure that if he's unowned, you definitely go take a look at him. So that's the beginning. I only got to the AFC, AFC East, North, whatever. I don't know. So I'm at the half an hour mark. I don't want to keep you guys all day. I like to keep these shows kind of short and sweet, go over most of my big points, but tomorrow is the Thursday show, so we'll jump right into low-key starts of the week, and then we'll get right into the rest of the AFC breakdowns. Everybody, thank you so much for joining me. I love doing this. I promise I'm going to be trying to get here a lot more often. I'm getting my show a little bit more condensed, getting some templates worked out. That way it's a lot easier for me to do this because it is a lot of work. It's a lot of information, a lot of, hand keying. I do everything by myself, so nothing's copy and pasted. Everything's hand typed. So it's a lot of work over here. So as always, everybody, thank you so much for joining me. I hope y'all did good on the waiver wires. Make sure you checked out what was dropped on there. Go get Dawson Knox, drop Michael Thomas, go make some trades, get away from Derrick Henry, get away from Chris Carson, get away from Calvin Ridley. Do what you got to do to secure some dubs. It's adapt or die. I love y'all so much. Take care.